Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. I'm Gimli and tonight I'm going to be joined by, first up, producer, lover, hater, hero, grumpy cunt. Just a few words to describe him. It's Danny, the GFP. Hello, Danny.
Hello.
Did you like that description of you?
We're all going to die one day, so I don't care.
I should put almost dead then, or at death's door.
I don't see the point. We all die. People keep dying. The bloke from Ghostbusters died. What's the point?
Egon.
Might as well all end it now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, see, you need to take some uppers, mate. Right, next up, he's promised me he's not going to erupt into a fit of laughter this week or even mock any questions you may have sent in to us. It's Gav from She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. Hello, Gavin.
I'll tell you what, I'm glad I'm in a better mood than Danny. Fucking hell, Jesus.
He's terrible, isn't he?
Oh, dear. Do you know what I mean? Brighten yourself up, Dan. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, dear. Summer will be here.
Oh,
and had the roof on the convertible fixed today. It was a fucking fuse. That cost me 60 quid.
You haven't driven the fucking thing for 6 years.
I know. Don't, just move on.
In other news, I had some barbecue mini cheddars at the hospital earlier.
Piss off.
First time I've seen them in ages, so I had to buy them, even though they were £1.20, robbing bastards. Right, next up, he lives in Spain, he's grumpy, and he drinks Jack Daniels like it's going out of fashion. It's our angry Venezuelan John. Hello, John.
What's up, fellas?
Are you a little bit happier? Are we going to carry on this happy train?
Fuck no, you're all cunts.
Oh, lovely stuff. It's nice to see that saying it like it is hasn't died a death.
Obviously, you have me on, don't you?
or it has if you're Danny, because after all, everything is going to die. Right,
Yeah.
and finally, our last minute addition, it's Mr. Chocolate Voice himself, it's FK. Hello, FK.
Good evening. How you doing, guys?
See, that's what I like, a little bit of positivity in the tea cakes. It's nice to be speaking to you.
Oh, it's good to be back. I've had a great day. That's why I did my piece for ESPN today about Dennis Bergkamp. So thanks to you guys for putting me forward for that. So yeah, I'm just buzzing. You know, been to the Bergkamp statue. I'm feeling inspired.
That's Talk Sport and ESPN we've done off the back of the podcast, isn't it?
Indeed, yeah.
But what's the point? In 6 billion years, our sun will go supernova and we'll all be dead.
Right, we're going to start off by doing something a little bit different. We normally, in the first part of this podcast, talk about the game just played. However, this week we're going to be joined by Martin Smith, editor of Stoke City's Oatcake fanzine, to discuss our trip to the Britannia and the comments they made regarding Arsenal's own Aaron Ramsey in their latest edition. Hello, Martin. It's very nice to have you with us tonight.
Yeah, good evening.
Right, so where do we really start with this?
Can I correct you on one thing first?
Yeah, no, go for it.
You've been obviously reading the papers. Wasn't our latest edition at all. It's months old, the one that you're referring to.
Okay.
So
It was after a Norwich match, no?
It was actually done after we played you at the Emirates earlier this season.
Okay. So would you like to explain to us what the article had in it and why it seems so many Gooners have...
Well, it's just a little bit kind of light-hearted, really, you know, because we're as kind of fed up as anybody as this Shawcross and Ramsey thing, which, you know, with reasons we can get into if you want. And I think that day, I think Aaron Ramsey played particularly well. I think he scored, obviously. And we just felt at that moment, you know, we really could have drawn a line under this. This is from our point of view. He could have just kind of done the classy thing, you know, and he did. And he kind of ran over to the Stoke fans doing the shush thing. And that's like playing the pantomime villain. So everybody says they want to put this behind us, you know, but then you come running over. And that's really just saying, yeah, you know, I'm kind of enjoying this. This is good fun, you know, give it back. So the piece actually just said, then, you know, OK, if that's the way you want it, then fair enough. You know, if it's just going to be, we're just going to continue it. And carry on, then, you know, all bets are off, because we've really, over the last few years, you know, we've tried to be like a voice of moderation on it, and it just kind of disappointed me, really. You know, I thought it was the one moment, you know, well, obviously he's going to celebrate, and he could have celebrated with his players and his the Arsenal fans, but, you know, he just headed straight over for the Stoke fans, and that was the tipping point for that piece, really. That's where that was coming from. You know, I know you guys see it differently.
I mean,
that's where we're coming from.
I mean, would you have expected that though? I mean, if it was Shawcross that scored against us, would you have expected?
Shawcross doesn't celebrate. He just runs back to the centre circle. A few goals he does get, No, honestly, I genuinely don't think he would have done. I think maybe with Aaron Ramsey, I think part of the problem, I think the press overplayed more than anything. And I just felt maybe got a little bit carried away. But there you go. I mean, you asked me what that was about. That's what it was really, and it was kind of light-hearted. We're not overly serious, so that's where we were coming from. That was the, for want of a better word, the inspiration behind that kind of that page.
And FK, is there anything you want to ask?
Not really. I want to ask. I'm actually quite surprised by Martin's comments. I mean, I know you've said that it was quite light-hearted, Martin, but when you think about the whole situation, Aaron Ramsey going over, he could have been classy. I agree with you. He could have been classy and just celebrated with his own players and not gone to the Stoke fans. But he's endured years of insults and abuse from Stoke fans, being booed, being jeered.
I don't think that's true, really. I mean, you'll struggle to hear anything. Obviously a few people. There's no concerted anti-Ramsey chanting. The only player who gets booed loudly in these games is Shawcross, really loudly. I think you go on the Oatcake message board, there's loads of Stoke fans just saying they just want this to be over with, and there's probably there's easily a majority of people I think who would want it like that. Seriously, I don't think he's taken any abuse. Certainly the first time I can ever remember anything in print was kind of what we did, I mean, your natural feeling for any player who gets injured is one of sympathy, and it was like such a terrible injury as well.
But you've read and you've heard some of the chants that were being sung about him. I mean, I was obviously there at the Britannia that day, and I've been back since, and obviously I have a season to
day of the injury?
I mean, some of the
chanting that day that I know of. I'm it's not even kidding there. I mean, there was just general shock at, everybody could see him, and it happened right in front of me, unfortunately, literally, within 30, 40 yards of where I sit, and people were genuinely shocked. I think there's kind of myth going up about this chanting. I mean, if a few idiots shouted something, fair enough, but I don't remember any chanting that day. Seriously, guys,
well, that's exactly what's happened.
I'd be shocked. I can't even imagine. It'd be so off the chart for a serious injury for people to chant. I just don't remember that at all, guys.
But Martin, I think that's the problem. I mean, okay, there was no mass chanting, the 26,000 people singing it all together. But like you say, if there are a few idiots doing it and people kind of joining because it's so-called banter, I remember, and I was shocked by guys singing "He should have died on the pitch." Now, as an Arsenal fan,
again, that's one guy though. Please, don't.
Of course, I'm not going to tarnish. No. Listen, I'm not daft enough or even arrogant enough to sit here and tarnish all Stoke fans with this, paint them with the same paintbrush. But what I'd say is that it's very easy for people to say, excuse me, Ramsey should have been classy and should have just gone over and celebrated with his fans. And actually for you to say that he almost enjoyed it by shushing the crowd, you forget the boy had his leg broken. Okay, whether it was intentional or not intentional, that's regardless. He had his leg broken. And for anyone suffering an injury like that, there is no need for any jeering, even if it's just from one person, 10 people, 100 people. It's not acceptable. It's not nice. And Shawcross gets booed, but you can probably understand why.
Yeah, can you say that the Arsenal fans have never done any coach trip jibes at Adebayor? Seriously.
Not at all. Obviously, of course.
There you go. So you know what I mean. It's, and I wouldn't hold that as a gun against your guys' heads. It's not. I just wouldn't. And yet we all know it happens. I mean. Okay, but sorry, I interrupted you there. Go on.
No, I was just saying, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Arsenal fans are the best behaved in class either, because we're clearly not. All football fans have this trait. And obviously when Adebayor scored that goal against us playing for City and he ran the entire pitch to celebrate, that's just a player's release. That's what they do. They're human beings. They're entitled to react in the heat of the moment. And, if you give it, you've got to be able to take it. But that situation and Ramsey's situation where you've got a boy, all he wants to do is play football. He has his leg tragically sort of broken in a horrific accident, and he's jeered for that. And it's, I can appreciate if he got sent off or if he did something stupid in the game, he scored a goal.
I can sort of fill you on some details there. I think when it got forget on that. I genuinely disagree on today. If there's one or two idiots, but since then I know there's been one or two things. I think what happens is then I think some of Arsene's comments didn't help. And then there was the Ramsey thing where he said he wouldn't be comfortable playing in if Shawcross was picked for the Welsh national team, and there's little things like that, and I think that kind of, pardon the pun, stokes people's emotions a little bit, because he's as bad an injury as it was, and let's not ever diminish that it was truly like horrible. Again, it happened right in front of me. I had a clear view, and my son turned round almost sick, and said, "Oh God, Dad, look, it was that bad." But a couple of years before that, Rory Delap had his leg broken almost identically where it was hanging off by Robbie Elliott of Sunderland, and he just said it's one of those things. He never moved. He never said anything else about it. I think the Newcastle player who had Ben Arthur, had his leg broken by the Man City defender. Particularly nasty. I do think there was just something a little bit different about this, and I think what it is the thing. I think since that first year when we beat you, it was obviously a landmark victory for us in 2008. When we got promoted, everybody predicted us to go down. And the first great win we had that season when we survived was Arsenal, at 2-1 at the Britannia. And it was just such an emotional day. And I think that's kind of, in our sense, sort of made some rather disparaging remarks about us. So I think that's everything since then. It's just like almost been kerosene on the fire. It's just one of these unfortunate situations that's just really kind of almost got out of hand a little bit. It hasn't happened with anybody else. It really is just Arsenal. And it's quite unfortunate, really. And I think a lot of people would, really like to pull back from it. And it just seems to develop this momentum of its own. And I suppose maybe that back page thing we didn't help either. So, we're not totally blameless either.
I mean, do you like I say? I mean, obviously, I'm not going to profess that Arsenal supporters are all angels, because we ain't. I mean, every every set of supporters have got their set of complete cunts. And in the past, if I think about what I've sung in the past, especially in the 80s, it's a hell of a lot worse than a lot of people, sang a hell of a lot worse than one bloke who's broke his leg whilst playing a game.
Yeah.
So, like I say, I'm not trying to gain any sort of moral high ground on it, really. But I think it's due just to the length of time this is just dragging on. And
agreed.
It just seems like it's just a complete pointless thing. And yes, there would have been a little bit of us going into, Stoke every time we play here, obviously what happens to Ramsey, and we was cut up about it because at the time he was a boy. Do you know what I mean? He was a boy that really it set him back 2 years, and he's only found his true form at the beginning of this season since that injury. So obviously, you're gonna protect your own, like exactly the same way as I completely respect, and I read completely through the thread on your website. And like I say, I mean, I think they even put up one of the blogs that I done on cwar.com, which was basically saying we shouldn't be that outraged. It's banter, etc., and it should be expected. And we've done worse in the past, which again I completely agree with. But there were quite a few comments on there, and I believe last night, I think it may have been removed. There was a picture up of some fella that runs an Arsenal blog. They had his picture up on there saying, this is a fella that runs a blog, and slagging him off, and I thought that was a little bit of a step.
Wasn't that the guy though? We put a picture of his ticket up and said he was going to come and he wants to kick some pregnant woman in the stomach or something.
No.
But there is that guy on there. You've seen that one, haven't you?
I've seen that one. I mean, like I say,
sorry,
as I said before, there's cunts on both sides.
I'm not
talking about the fella
saying there isn't
the growth.
The bloke that Gav's on about, he put an article in the Metro, and some of the bits from it refers to Stoke as a Victorian freak safari, and then another line he put, no one on the planet can identify with the Stoke fans' cause. The joke isn't funny or intelligent and doesn't have any class about it at all. But Martin, the thing on your website, one of the topics you have, right, the Arsenal game started on the 20. This is Danny, the button monkey. 23rd of February. The first person is Warrington, but it's time to start cranking it up a bit. Wenger and Ramsey, let the fuckers have it. And a minute's applause for Ramsey in the 67th minute. Now,
but the thing is,
and everybody for the first 3 pages I read, it's all going on about we should let him have it, a minute's applause for him, and then chanting at him. It's just that sort of stuff is ridiculous.
But have you seen the other thread about, time to? There's another thread on there. Enough of this Ramsey stuff or Ramsey abuse. So there's 2 sides to that. I mean, we kind of with the forum, it's really, really difficult because you don't want to censure free speech, and because you guys don't see the threads that do get removed, So, it's a really sort of fine line, but there's a really kind of strong internal debate amongst Stoke fans about it, Again, as you see, go on and look at that thread. Then I can't think what it's called.
The bit you're on about, it's called "Please Let's Stop All This Ramsey Abuse." And someone called Ginkgo has said it's embarrassing, undignified, and juvenile. Provides the media with another opportunity to brand our supporters as ignorant, low-life scum, and as the consequences, gives our club and city a bad name. Nobody outside of Stoke can see the justification.
So you've seen it then. So you can see it's not a one-sided debate here. But I think, like I say, it's just that everything that's kind of happened, it just seems to be with Arsenal. We've had no similar kind of, and obviously Arsene did the thing about the rugby team, which we actually found hilarious because we now sing, Swing Low Sweet Chariot and things like that.
He was right at the time, though. I'm not a Wenger fan by a long shot, but he was fucking right.
No, come on.
Under Pulis, who played some total
Alex
shit.
Ferguson never said a word against us. Any of the Chelsea managers, Man City. So why Arsenal? And it's all it is.
We play the best football. That's why.
Yeah, but they'll argue they're winning the trophies. That's where they're. maybe when you're winning the trophies, you don't need to. I wouldn't say lash out, but sort of redirect people's attention to other things.
No, don't get.
And all Stoke fans do, guys, and you do exactly the same. I mean, Arsenal were pariahed for years with the Adams thing, the donkey thing, and. That was in the days when fanzines started as well. I can't believe how many Adams donkey jokes I saw. And, the thing about the offside and the 1-0. And I think Arsenal, you had points deducted for discipline and things like that. You defended your club at the time. And all Stoke fans, what it really does, however they do it, and sometimes not in the best taste, all Stoke fans are really doing is defending their club, guys. And, that's just the way it is. And, sometimes they don't get it right.
Do you get
the natural instinct is just to do that.
Can I ask, Martin? I mean, you're obviously one of the biggest Stoke website and fanzines, yeah?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you do get the complete broad spectrum on there. You get the complete fucking arseholes down to the level-headed people.
Yeah, we get some great guys and some people even I don't like, but it does happen, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously you can appreciate the fact that the ones that tend to get noticed more aren't the ones that are level-headed. The ones that get noticed more are
squeaky wheel gets the oil, doesn't it? It's the more outrageous you are, the more the kind of more notice people take of you, and the more likely you're going to get your comments picked up by some form of the media or one of you guys. But can I just say as well, how many blogs have you got at Arsenal?
Fucking thousands.
I know. I spent about. I did a search something on one of them once. Dear Lord.
What you want to do, Dave? Most of them drink in a pub called the Tollington, right? Get all your boys together.
Easy, Gav. We've got in trouble for the
and whatever you do, don't burn the place down.
Bring some sandwiches.
You just had to, didn't you? So, Martin, if I might interject with you, when it comes down to it on Saturday, how would you like to see the Stoke fans react in the stadium?
Well, they're going to give Arsene some jip. They'll do the arm waving thing. That's going to happen without a fact. unfortunately, the fact that you guys just recorded your 100th red card, there's going to be some songs about that, I'm sure. But, a hand on heart, absolutely, genuinely, 100%. If I never heard another thing about Ramsey and Shawcross again, I'd be delighted. I'm sick of dancing.
So you're not going to write any more blogs?
No, well, depends.
No, seriously. If you want to hear the end of it, the best thing to do is if you didn't write the thing in the first place, then it would have been spoke about, etc. But it wouldn't have got the media coverage that it's got.
Well, there's been plenty of that anyway for 5 years, and
do you know what I mean? I mean, like say
we wrote this, it never gone away anyway. And you showed the Arsenal blogs that bring it up every season. I mean, that's our first contribution to the debate in 4 or 5 years. So I don't think it will just go away if we keep our mouths shut. But I hope it kind of goes away. It's. Harry's doing as well as he's doing. I've got no reason to wish to lad any ill. And I'll give one thing that I was very pleased about over the last couple of meetings is that the players have shaken hands before the game. We haven't seen anything silly there that we saw with the Suarez and Evra and Terry and things like that. So, I'm really pleased, and I thought that was a really positive thing. We did mention that last season that the two had kind of shaken hands, and we were hoping that would, draw the line under it. So that's still my position now.
Thing is, I think one of the funniest things actually regarding the whole Ramsey incident is that the amount of hype that's been built up for maybe, a minute's worth of clapping or a minute's worth of silence or the boos and the jeers and whatever. He isn't actually going to be playing that game.
I know that's
he's not actually even travelling to the Britannia.
No, well, that's why that article that's appeared. I don't know. It's obviously you must have lots of Arsenal fans in the London media, and it's been put as the Stoke fans are planning to give Ramsey. Everyone knows Ramsey isn't playing, and like I say, that article was written over, I think, maybe 6 months ago now, 5 months ago. So it was actually done the week after we'd played you at the Emirates. So kind of, at the time, a little bit impulsive, and perhaps, you actually look at this issue this week. I don't think the word Ramsey appears in it, to be honest with you.
No.
But the one we've got for this Saturday, I'm pretty sure his name doesn't even appear in it.
Yeah. We'll draw a line under this then.
Yeah, sure, mate.
I'd like to thank you so much for joining us because.
Yeah, and thank you for having me on, guys. I'm appreciate you love your club as much as I love mine. That's. And it's like I say, it's a bit of fun, and more than happy to do it anytime, guys.
And remember, we all share Lee Dixon and Steve Bowles, so for that we are thankful.
We thought you'd love us forever for that.
You're not getting Steve Bowles back. You're not getting, we want to keep Steve Bowles. So, Martin,
thanks a lot, Martin.
What do you think about the game on Saturday? Do you fancy your chances?
Well, we've actually not got a bad record against you guys. On the sad day, the Ramsey thing, you did beat us 3-1. But that's the only time you've beaten us in 6 league and cup games at the Brits. So obviously you've got a 100% record against us at your manor. So I'm hopeful for at least a draw. We really need it as well, because just been a kind of transitional season for us. So I'm going to go for 1-1 for us, or possibly 2-1 for us, but we know full well if you guys turn out on the day, you could tank us 4-0, so, it's kind of hope for the best, keep my fingers crossed and pray that maybe we get through on the day.
Definitely. Right, we'll draw a line under this. Like I said, I'd like to thank you for joining us, Martin, and I'm sure that we all hope that this after this fixture we draw a line under it, and we can all move on as fans and put more effort into supporting our own clubs rather than berating each other's.
Absolutely, mate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Take care, Martin.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Danipo just scored. Good. Fucking 2-0.
So, to be fair, I thought he spoke very well. I thought he stuck up for his club, which you've got to give him. Yeah, he's got to do that basically. I was unaware, like probably everybody else, that article that he wrote was 5 months ago.
So I wasn't aware that it was.
But like I say, I still can't get past the fact that, like I say, you read through that his blog and his website and his message board, and I still think it's pretty much a 50-50 on those who want to draw the line under it.
Well,
those
the thing about it is
those
that
who want to back up Shawcross, and those that are just being complete cunts.
Even on the one that says, let's put an end to this Ramsey discussion. It's one guy, and then it's followed by 3 pages of cunts.
Mm.
Yeah. But the thing is,
but at the end of the day, as an opposing club supporter, it's always going to be that way, isn't it? We're always going to put, support our club, our players over somebody else's. So, can you blame them? No. Is it a little bit classless due to the fact with the injury tied to that? Obviously, but at the end of the day, we're all supporters, and we're all going to support our club no matter what.
Mm. No, I think, like Gav said, he came on and he spoke very well, and there were things that I agreed with, things that I disagreed with. But I think Gav made the very good point there, that if he doesn't write articles, then this shit doesn't get dredged up. I mean, there's always going to be animosity between the two clubs, and I don't think that will ever die down.
No.
But however, you can try and cap it as much as you possibly can to mean that it doesn't spill over into the game and cause, like, what is banter is fantastic in football, but when it gets nasty, like some of the things that I've seen and read over the last week, that's unacceptable.
So shouldn't we see this as like a kind of football match? It was 1-0 to them when Shawcross broke his leg, and then Ramsey equalised 1-1 when he celebrated that goal. So there you go, call it a draw, get on with it.
Yeah, draw a line under it and let's move on. Let's put, like, at the end of the day, we are in a season where we could go on and win the title. So let's put all of our voices and our shouting and our screaming, let's aim it at the players to do better and to win the title. Don't aim it at them cunts. It's a waste of time. Right, so we'll move on then, and next up on the agenda is a home tie against Sunderland. On the day, a 4-1 win and a solid performance, but we're going to go over to John now, who's going to tell us what he thought of the game. John?
Well, obviously, we control the game from the outset. I mean, we scored 3 goals in the first half, had a pretty quick goal in the start of the second, had about 65% possession, had the most shots on goal. I mean, there's really nothing that you could, criticize about that performance. My only thing is, people are talking about Podolski being the, albeit answer at striker, but he really had a quiet game if you look at it. And, the people that really drove the game were Rosicky and really Arteta, after all the criticism he's taken, did very well in the game. Jack is another one that had, really quiet games leading up to this, and he had a good game. Giroud, obviously, after all the controversy surrounding his, late night forays into the unknown, came in and did his job. So, this was kind of a view of Arsenal of old, for a split, for 45 minutes. So, you can't fault anything, but, there's still cracks that we're kind of papering over with results, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll go over to FK now. We've been fairly critical of Giroud in the last show. I mean, I think one or two of us might have said that we would probably give Sanogo the nod over him. How did Giroud do? Most of all, is it an improved performance? What did you think, FK?
Yeah, I mean, I was really pleased with the victory, obviously, and I think I was really pleased to see Giroud back in the team. I mean, Sanogo, as promising as he looks, I think there's a risk of just playing him every game, and then building up expectation and, just ease the boy in. He's played 2 massive games for us, and he's done really well, to be fair to him. With regards to Giroud, it's amazing what 10 days rest does to a player. I mean, he looked as if he had that yard back, and he looked a bit fresh, and his movement was much better. He was closing things down, and he seemed to be fairly clinical. His second goal particularly, I thought was really good. And actually, if that's a Van Persie or a Suarez score, and that people are thinking, oh my God, look at his anticipation, look at that finish, etc., because it's Giroud, probably doesn't get the credit that he deserves, because it was a really neat goal. But I was really pleased to see him back, and you could tell in recent weeks prior to Sanogo's burst onto the scene that Giroud was just looking so run into the ground, and He's played 39, 40 appearances this season for club and country. When you compare that to someone like Suarez, who's maybe made 24 or 25 games, there's no surprise that he's running out of legs and he's just looking a bit knackered. Obviously, the sleeping around doesn't help, but the bottom line is he had a couple of games off. He was able to rest, recuperate, come back. And in a way, I also thought that he had a kind of point to prove. He went out there and he received all that stick, and I just thought he played really well. And actually, speaking of strikers, Soldado's just scored but had it ruled offside for disallowed.
It's 1-0 Dnipro.
Yeah.
2-0 on aggregate here.
Well, they ain't getting past that, are they, fuckers? Gav, we'll go over to you next. FK talked about Giroud's brace. Arsene knows best to keep him in the squad?
Oh, don't. No, I mean, it's just proved really what we all knew, that you shouldn't really have gone into the season with one striker, which more or less is what we've done. So, I mean, it's really just actually proved Wenger's actually been wrong. And the issue really is just the fact that our major issue is getting goals from the front line. I mean, I agree with what Ven said about Podolski. One of the games that he should have really shined and he didn't. Obviously, with the Sunderland game, the player that I want to single out is Sagna, who managed to play 11 positions in one game. He more or less played every position on the pitch, didn't he? He played left back, right back, centre back. So
12
well done.
with the cheerleader role.
Yeah, I mean, given him the chance, he would have played up front and in goal as well. So it goes back to that argument, that debate on whether or not we should be offering him more of a deal than a 2-year deal, and whether or not he's being greedy by asking for what the wages he's asking for. But we don't know what's going on there.
Let me ask you a question. We saw Campbell playing for Olympiacos versus United, and we've seen what he's done this year. How ridiculous is it that we have a player that we paid for 2 years ago? He's out on loan 3 years. He had his work permit before this year, and we don't have a callback option for him, knowing how thin our squad was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, I'm not going to profess because, like I say, I mean, I only really watch the Arsenal play. I don't watch a lot of European football. I haven't seen, Campbell play a lot. But I mean, obviously, I saw the goal he scored, and I know he's waxing a few this year, hasn't
he? Being in Spain, when he played for Betis last year, to give you a little bit of insight, he did exactly what he did, the other day on a regular basis for Betis, creating and scoring the odd goal. But
does he play mainly down the right though?
On the right, And he's got that pace.
I can appreciate Wenger not calling him back for this year if he thinks that we've got Theo down the right with a backup, from Narbury, and also Ox that can play down there. Also, Santi that can play on the right, Rosicky that can play on the right. So I can appreciate why he wouldn't want him back at the beginning of the season when he thinks he's got 4 or 5 players that can cover that position. But obviously, when you're looking at it at the moment, where we look a bit wafer thin down that side, then you can appreciate it. But like I say, I mean, to go back to Gimli's question, really, it's up front, and it's up front down the middle. Look, we're sort of lacking, and we have been lacking, and look, everybody and their dog's known we've been lacking all season long. So the fact that Giroud gets 10 days rest or 10 days punishment, whatever way you want to look at it, and then comes back and scores 2 goals, it kind of proves that right, really, that he's not the man that can play the massive amount of games that we're going to play. I mean, you imagine, not only are we've got into the last 16 of the Champions League and the FA Cup and the league games. It's a lot of games. It's gone. It's not a squad game. It's a squad game now.
Did anyone just see what Tim Sherwood mouthed to the ref?
Yeah, brilliant. He's losing it.
I think it began with F and ended in off. I think you got a good point there. Just looking at transfermarket.com, they're giving the stats for Joel this season, and he's played 32 games, 10 goals, 10 assists. He's a left-footed striker, but he plays on the right wing, and he's played all but about 2 games on the right wing in a team they're about to win. They've just done the back-to-back double the last 2 seasons. They're going to win their 24th title in 20.
Olympiacos.
Yeah,
It's not.
but at the end of the day, my thing isn't that he might be performing at a substandard league or however you want to call it, but at the end of the day, he's performing in the Champions League as well. My thing isn't that he went out on loan. Fine, he goes out on loan. A loan will always be good for a younger player. But at the end of the day, why don't we have a recall option on a player that could possibly help us? If
I think he's still got. I think there's still the work permit issue.
No,
he has a work permit.
He has a work permit, Gav. But the thing is,
that's fucking ridiculous. Then.
No, it's not, because
and they have a buy option as well.
Yeah, which isn't that much either.
Yeah, do you honestly, guys? Honestly, come on. This is a guy who's had obviously some great statistics for Olympiacos, and so I'm guilty just as much as an ex-Arsenal fan. You see one player do something good one week and you're raving about it in the following week. He scored against a mediocre team in the Champions League. He scored a great goal, fantastic, lovely. I get that. But so many people got carried away, and exactly like you're saying, people were venting. People were like, why is Arsene Wenger not, let him play at Arsenal this year? He's obviously got it. He's obviously this, that, and the other. He's been playing well in Olympiacos in a very, 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 poor league in comparison to the Premier League.
Can I ask you a question?
But he played well. He played well last year in Betis in La Liga. But then you can't argue that doesn't count, and then say, well, Diego Costa is worth 45 million.
No,
the season before that, he was in France with
Lorient. For Arsenal, honestly, John.
I mean, does anyone, seriously, does anybody think that if there was an option in there to bring him back in January, you would have bought him back just for another body?
No, he wouldn't have done. He's just got a touch of the Carlos Vela's about him.
I think the thing about Campbell is I've heard a lot of stuff that he might not actually ever play a game for Arsenal. There was a lot of talk that when he went to Olympiacos, that would be the last time we saw him back in this country.
Yeah.
I think the acid test for me, guys, is he can show all this promise in Spain and in Greece and in the Champions League every now and again. For me, what I'd really like to see, and it's just my opinion, I'd love to see him come back to England in the summer, join up with Arsenal, and either a 6-month or a full season loan at a Premier League club, somewhere like Everton, where he's going to get game time. And if he can make it, if he can play really well over the year, then there is absolutely no reason why we can't offer him a long-term contract and get him back in at the club. I just think already we've got Sonogo, and I think Arsenal come to a stage now where we need to push on, and we just can't keep trialing, too many young players all over the place. I just think Sonogo's a great sort of like prospect, and he's a good punt, and we can maybe stick it out and just see how he kind of develops. But to have Giroud, Sonogo, and Campbell, I just think that's too risky.
Yeah, but you look at Campbell's. If you look at someone's career, you can tell roughly if they're going to be any good. I'm reading off of Wikipedia. His Costa Rica under-17 career, 9 games, 8 goals. His under-20 career, 13 games, 10 goals. And for Costa Rica, 30 games, 8 goals. Now, that does suggest someone who knows where the goal is, because he's playing against people of his similar age in similar situations and competitions.
And he played for Costa Rica as a 17-year-old for the full national team.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Danny, Mateo Kesman had an incredible scoring record in Holland for PSV before he joined Chelsea, and he was a complete flop. Now, I'm not saying Campbell's going to be, and I appreciate maybe you should give him time, but surely 30 games, 40 games a season for a lone club in the Premier League, including cup competitions, obviously, as opposed to 10 appearances for Arsenal. I think that puts him in much better stead, and that would be the acid test. That would be if he comes back.
But I think we're getting a little bit off track. I think the whole point is, why don't we have a recall option when obviously, anything can happen? We had a recall option obviously with Watford and Bellerin.
Yeah,
and he came back
because Wenger doesn't think he's good enough. Simple.
Well, then why did we spend the money in the first place?
Well, no, there's no all about it, Danny. He's been sent on. Yeah,
no.
Sorry.
Yeah, I wasn't on about that. No, I think you're right where you say it'd be nice to get him back, loan him out for 6 months, and we'll see January next year what he's got. This bloke isn't going off in a hurry, is he? Adebayor's having to give him a man hug.
But at the end of the day, why are we spending money on fucking players that we're never going to have at the club? This reminds me of Pedro Botelho when he was in Levante and everything. So we're spending we're constantly spending money, 1.5 million, 2 million, 3 million, whatever it may be, for players that are never going to play. well, why the fuck do we just not stop spending that? Stop spending that fucking money on players that are never going to put on the shirt and give that money to Sanya, who's going to be on his way out this year.
I mean, we only paid about $1 million for him, and we've made a few quid back in transfer fees. But what we usually do is get a player, loan him. He's been to loaned out to 3 teams in 3 countries. So you would think the next logical step would be a few first team games. But
he's performed at all 3 stops.
He has, yeah. Lorient, I thought he was quite. He went to there with Gilles Sunu. However you say his name. But you look at Diego Costa, when he played for my Portuguese team, Penafiel, in the Portuguese second division, I think they were then, he was atrocious. So you can't tell from an early part of a career with someone scoring no goals. And now look at him. Chelsea are going to pay about £100 billion for him because he knows where the back of the net is.
Right.
You just can't tell. I'll take it you want to move this on, Gim.
I would like to move it on. I was actually going to go to you and just chuck some stats your way, Danny.
Oh, go on in. I love a stat.
We had 65% of the possession. This is as of BBC stats. So don't shoot me, shoot them. 65% of possession, 12 shots in total, 9 of which on target. That's much better, isn't it? Because before we were having, say, maybe 20 shots on target and maybe registering 7 actually on target. So much better this week, do you agree?
Yeah, do. Yeah, sometimes a lot this season, which has been a weird thing of the Premier League, teams are not having the most possession but winning the game quite comfortably. Liverpool are making a point of doing that. And I'm just looking on whoscored.com and comparing their left winger, Fabio Borini, to Lucas Podolski. Lucas had 93% pass success rate, 87 touches of the ball, 2 shots on goal and 1 dribble. And that was from a player who I missed the game because I went back to sleep but then forgot to wake up to go and watch it.
It was probably you dribbling.
I tell you, when I dribble in my beard, it comes out like I've been slimed. But for Giroud to come back, get 2 goals, get an assist, get man of the match, just shows yet again why Wenger is manager and why we're not managers, because we'd sent him packing.
Sunderland got their tactics wrong. I mean, that they wanted to sort of, off the back of us. In the previous game, games beforehand, Sunderland wanted to sort of sit back and just stop us for the first 15 minutes. But what they forgot to do was actually press the ball, which gave us a little bit too much freedom, and we just completely pissed all over them.
And about Sebastian Larsson, I thought his free kick was wonderful. That's a player who will be missed. I mean, who could have done a job with us.
Yeah, let me ask you guys a question. For me, the Sunderland game is kind of a warning, because if you look at the goals, these are goals that we always try to score. The perfect little pass, the perfect little ending.
Oh, Ziki's goal was quality.
It was complete quality.
Absolute quality.
But I'm not debating that at all. What I'm saying is, it's a little bit of a warning sign that we're still the Arsenal from 2009, 2010 that are still trying to pass the ball into the back of the net. If those passes don't come off, we don't score. And that happens more often than not.
It's easy to take the ball off. And I remember the one, I think it was, who was the Wimbledon manager of years? Bobby Gould was saying on Talk Sport, they did an interview with Danny Kelly, and he was saying when he was Wimbledon manager, he used to say to the wingers, I want you to do 10 crosses each per half, and I want the strikers to have 10 shots at goal per half. And at least that way, the numbers are going to pay off. You do lose out a lot of possession. I think I've mentioned this before, but for us to be, remember when we first moved to Ashburton, and we were constantly shoot, and it was really getting on players' nerves and getting on our nerves. And I thought that we'd stopped that, but now we're tippy-tappy, and then people are just going to get stressed out with it. But I think Rosiki's goal to get the 2nd assist and the 4th assist on his own goal was just, that's right out there this season with Jack Wilshere's goal as one of my favourites. I thought it was a thing of beauty.
Oh, beautiful. Well happy for him.
And I couldn't think of a better player I'd want to have scored a goal like that.
That was my next question. How do we rate that Rosicky goal against Wilshire's? Was it better?
No, it wasn't better. I think there was a couple of lucky ball went his way quite luckily with maybe 1 or 2 of those times, but the Wilshere one, it was like you were playing it on FIFA. It was planned, it was preordained, it was
but beautiful. They had a couple of back heel on that Wilshere goal that was kind of lucky.
Don't you say, how dare you?
John,
I love both of them.
They pressed Shift X for that one, didn't they, or whatever it is for fucking free.
There's something I was going to say about something we said earlier. We're always ridiculing Gav for his inability to speak the Queen's English. Can I give John a quick English lesson?
Do it.
Well,
Right.
we've had a Stoke fan on tonight, so it's not as if we've had perfect English, is it?
You know that team that are managed by Chris Hughton, John? How do you say it?
Norwich.
No, that's not.
Norwich.
Remember this saying, right? Next time you want to say it, I'm neither poor nor rich. Say it.
Norwich.
There you go.
Yay.
Remember that saying? Next
Hey,
time
you know, I don't know if I'm fucking psychic
Yeah.
or anything, but I had this queued up for tonight. Listen to this.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
It's Gav's song.
He must have known. I was going to say he must have known Gav was on with him tonight.
So every time you hear the word Norwich, don't say now Rich or Leicestershire. That sounded a bit Irish, that one. Just remember that saying. I've been thinking of a way to get people to say it. I'm neither rich.
I'm going to start coming out with small towns in Spain, and I'm going to ask you guys to.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Spurs have
pronounce
scored
it.
again.
Well, this has already been a long one with that Stocky fan on earlier. Of course, there's normally a Ozil watch on every podcast that we do, but unfortunately this week no Ozil. FK, I want your opinion on why you think he was dropped, because I don't think he made the actual first team squad at all, did he?
No, he didn't.
No.
But they said it was. He suggested it was because of injury. But yeah, go on.
He wasn't banging Giroud's new girlfriend, was he?
But no, I just like your thoughts on whether it was the right thing to do to drop him, if we missed him at all.
Well, clearly we didn't miss him because we beat Sunderland quite comfortably in the end, and I think Cazorla, when he plays in the central role behind the striker, flourishes. I think that's probably one of the only downsides to having Ozil in the team, that Cazorla's kind of pushed out wide or left behind somewhere. With regards to dropping him or resting him or just leaving him out because he's got a slight knock, whatever you want to call it, I'll leave that to the others to decide. I think it was probably the right thing to do. I think he's played some really intense games recently, and the criticism all started at Anfield after that spanking 5-1. The media hung him out to dry. Arsenal fans started questioning him, and then of course the disappointing 0-0 against United, where you kind of looked at Ozil to try and open those doors, and unfortunately it just didn't quite happen. And then of course the penalty miss against Bayern Munich. So he had 3 really intense games, and possibly not his best days at the office. So I think Arsenal's done exactly the right thing there. It's really smart man management. Take him out of the spotlight. We're lucky that the team performed really well without him, because I think that would have raised a few eyebrows and a few questions had we struggled against Sunderland. But the 2 weeks off that he's had or will have by the time we go to Stoke, probably do them the world of good, just like Giroud did when he came back with his rest. And I think people also forget Ozil played in a league where it's not as intense and it's not quite as fast, and he had much better players around him at Real Madrid. And I think he's played pretty much every game, including pointless games like Coventry, where he started the games for us. And he's another one that's kind of been run into the ground. For what reason, I couldn't tell you. And he's got quite an astonishing statistic. I mean, John, you might be able to verify here, but of something like 44 of his or 47 of his starts at Real Madrid in the last 2 or 3 years, he only finished like 4 or 5 games. So he was subbed quite often, whereas at Arsenal, he seems to be completing the majority of games. So I think the break's going to do him the world of good. And if he comes back against Stoke, or whether he comes back against whoever our next game is, Everton in the Cup, and he really turns it on, then yeah, great management. So I'm not fussed about it at all.
Well, it's the ideal game really to sort of leave him out of. Sunderland are,
fair point.
Let's be honest, Sunderland are fucking shit. I mean, we proved that. I mean, it was never in danger after, even after the first couple of minutes, that it was going to come any close to getting a result against us. But like I say, I mean, the thing that really pissed me off is, like I say, I mean, I didn't go to the Munich game. Like I say, so I was sitting there, and half time, full time, I'm listening to the commentary, and I'm flicking through my Twitter, and the amount of people on there that are just copying what the fucking pundits are saying on the telly was absolutely sickening. I mean, for the majority of the second half, Ozil's playing literally as a left wing back, which is nowhere near his best position. It's a complete foreign position for him. I mean, you might as well have Giroud playing in that position for a comparison. And the amount of people that were just copying what the pundits were saying by saying, "Oh, he's not tracking back and he's out of position and blah blah blah," was actually sickening. It's just like so many people haven't I was reading on Twitter, just ain't got their own fucking brains. Do you know what I mean?
The best thing was The best thing was them trying to blame him for Chesney's red card.
Oh, fucking ridiculous! I mean, it's like, to me, I was sitting there thinking, ain't these people got a fucking mind of their own? Do you know what I mean? Can't you see that the fella was out of position? As much as Ramsey last season, when Wenger was playing him out to the right, and people were slagging off Ramsey's performance, it's exactly the same, and it was just all through to the fucking prick commentators, on the on the telly, and they're just copying what they've said, and I really got a bit pissed off about it, to be honest with you, because you really, really shouldn't be slagging off a player that is playing out of their natural position. If you want to, if you want to pop, if you want to pop at Ozil for how he's playing, just off the main striker, then that's fair enough. But having to pop at him when he's not playing his natural position, I just thought, really, really, just fucking learn to read the game. And learn, have your own opinion. Don't just have the opinion of the fucking commentator. Sorry, John.
No. How about the people that were saying that he was a lazy player that night?
Oh, fucking ridiculous.
He ran more than any other Arsenal player.
See, that's what I said on the end of last week's podcast. All the people that said he was lazy. There's your stat. I think out of everyone in the whole game, he was third or fourth top runner. He had covered more ground than.
But not only that, if you look at the game, if you look at the last 3 minutes, he tried a self pass to get beyond Alaba. Was it Rafinha? That he tried a self pass to try to get us started on a counter, and that didn't work out because nobody else ran with him. So
you're on a different level when you're passing to yourself.
Yeah, it's incredible. He tried to self pass and go beyond the guy, on the 89th minute, and everybody else is just sitting there on the line, kind of watching him do his thing. I mean, I think it's ridiculous. I think people, at the end of the day, the majority are fucking idiots, man. I'm sorry. I just sit there and I just read some of the shit that gets put on Twitter, on Facebook, and it's
in the WhatsApp group.
Oh my God, no! Listen. We all have our, our leanings, either pro or anti Wenger or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, I think all of us, it's one thing to know your football. It's one thing to see what's going on the screen, and then it's just another thing altogether to be an ignorant cunt and ignore what's obvious. And I think stats don't always prove out a point, but if the stats are all leaning one way, if you watch a match a second time and it leans one way, and if you see something and it's obvious, if you're still trying to form an argument against it, well, who's the fucking idiot?
Right, Danny, we're going to go over to you now because you've got something you want to say, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm trying to polish a turd here. Spurs were 2-0 down. They're now 3-2 up on aggregate. And I'm thinking, oh, for fuck's sake. But if Spurs win tonight, and it looks like they're going to, that means they've got 2 more UEFA Cup games. We play Bayern Munich on Tuesday the 11th. Then that means on Wednesday the 12th, Spurs will be playing a game, which they wouldn't normally have been playing. And then 4 days later, they're playing us again. I mean, we're playing them in the Premier League. So whereas they would have had nearly over a week's break, they're now only going to get a break of 3 days. We're going to get a break of 4 days.
Are they playing Benfica home or away?
Their first, that's an important one. Oh, they're at home.
All right, but
they're not going to beat Benfica.
No, Benfica might teach him a footballing lesson. If I'm being honest.
Benfica are playing PAOK Salonika. I think
fair play. And just on this question, lads, I know it wasn't planned as part of the agenda, but seeing as you mentioned it, Danny, the Bayern Munich game, I've been torn about the way I've been thinking about this the last couple of days, and apologies if this comes out as defeatist, but it's just me thinking out loud. What do you do in that situation? If you're the boss of Arsenal and you've got Everton coming up and you've just played Stoke. You've got Spurs coming up and you've just played Everton. I think that's the way the fixtures fall, right? Do you go to Bayern and play your strongest team and try and get something up? Just playing devil's advocate.
No, it's not
because
it's
been driving. I've literally just been thinking about it for what would I do if I was the boss? What would you guys do?
That's one of the questions I've got from Twitter, from Joel, one of our friend, Joel the wine guy, who's at non-flying Iceman. He says, much like you're saying, 2-0 down to current Champions League holders and quick successions of games. Do you think key personnel should be rested at the Allianz? So it's exactly what you were just saying, FK. I think yes. We're not going to go there and win because they're not going to make the same mistake they did last time by thinking, they're not going to come back and get anything from us. And I think, there's no point playing them.
No, for me, as a fan, you want silverware and to be successful. Our best chance of being successful this season is in the FA Cup. So I say he's got to put his strongest team out in the FA Cup and actually show a bit of commitment and intent to try and win a trophy.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the same thing. I think will he be? I know GC's going to be a bit grumpy about this, but do you reckon that we should not bother sending out a full team for the Bayern game?
No, I mean, fuck me. I mean, I want Arsenal to win every fucking game. I want Arsenal to win every fucking kickoff, every fucking coin toss. I want every fucking youth game to win, the fucking ladies to win, and everything. I think that when you're talking about multi-millionaire sports people, which players are these days, they should be able to play a couple of times a week. Obviously, a certain amount of rotation has to go into place, but at the moment, I wouldn't have any problems with Sonogo playing one game, Giroud playing the other.
Unless you're Chelsea. Go on.
Yeah, and also I wouldn't have any problems with Arteta playing one game and Flamini playing the other. So, like I say, I mean, I think really, we should be looking at putting out a very, very strong team in both games. Because, like I say, I mean, what are you going to do? Fucking play Zelen on them? Do you know what I mean? Are you going to play him in one game and fucking Nanabi or whatever? No, bollocks. Do you know what I mean? We've got, like I say, we've got enough. We should and we do have enough players that should be able to cope with playing both games. And like I say, I think we've got enough in there with
to go out there and beat the best team in the world at their ground. Certainly 2-0 down. Just do it.
You see,
no,
the thing.
But before the red card, we had the upper hand in that game. I mean, if you really look at the match, we were going head to head, and some could argue that we were the better team.
I don't know. I mean, as much as I would love to win the Champions League and as much as I'd love to see us progress, I suppose that in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, could we do with... I mean, let's imagine we get Real Madrid in the next round, 2 legs. It's just, I mean, sorry, that's a bad example considering they smashed Schalke last night. But do you get my point? I mean, we could do really well to overcome Bayern, and then, you just know what Arsenal's like. And in the past, he's kind of rested players because of the Champions League. And I think we all crave the league title. We've got an outside chance of that. We all crave the FA Cup. A day out at Wembley is, for me, much better than a semi-final against Real Madrid, for example. I don't know.
Gets my vote. I'm with you on this one, FK.
That's just the way I feel. And listeners will maybe be surprised at my attitude tonight because, I'm really optimistic. But I just think we're 11 games to go in the league and the squad is fragile. And Gav, I'm not saying for one second we play ZLM and flipping, Dan Crowley, centre midfield against Bayern. I'm just thinking, there are certain players that you would quite happily see them have a rest ahead of a cup semi-final or ahead
of that at the end of the day, it's not up to us. It's what Wenger's gonna. No, but I'm saying, but it's what Wenger's gonna do, and he thinks that he can get a result against Bayern. You know that.
Thing is, I saw, I think it might have been John Cross actually wrote that Arsene Wenger is also got some kind of an addiction with the Champions League. It's the only really thing on his record that he hasn't won. So he's going to try and push for that and put out his best team in that. It said basically that the Champions League was his priority, which personally, as FK said, I think that's wrong. I really do think that's wrong.
I don't know. I don't know whether it's wrong or right. It's just opinion. And now I suppose I'm playing devil's advocate, and I was just really intrigued because, we chat on WhatsApp pretty much every day, all day, and the listeners don't see that. And I've never really asked that question to you guys, so I was just curious to see your way of thinking.
So what would you lot have? Back-to-back Premier Leagues or back-to-back Champions League titles?
Premier Leagues.
Premier League.
Premier League.
I don't know. We've never won the Champions League.
I hate Europe. I can't be bothered with it. The most boring games for me when I used to go was European nights. It bored the fucking arse off me unless it was a big team.
It's the thing we haven't won though, and like I say, it's an absolute fucking disgrace that Chelsea beat us to the Big Ears one. So like I say, I mean, it's like I say, we've seen us win the league at Well, I mean, bloody hell, you don't even have to be that old to
How much did it cost them to get that trophy, though?
Well, exactly. But I mean, the thing is, if you're an Arsenal supporter and you're 38, 40 or over, you've seen us win the league at fucking Liverpool at a time when Liverpool were absolutely dominating.
Best in the world.
Not only British football, world football, European football. You've seen us win the league at Man United when they were dominating. You've seen us win the league at Tottenham. If you're over 50,
you've seen us once.
You've seen us do it that shithole twice.
Right, but Gav, seriously,
more times than they've done it.
We was the first team to win the cup double, to win both cup, to win the League Cup and the FA Cup in the same season. 93.
But Gav, question now.
94, we won in. I mean, it's always going to be an issue until we win that thing.
But if you're offered the Champions League right now or the Premier League title right now, which one do you take?
Oh, fuck me, Champions League, mate, 'cause I ain't seen it.
God,
Champions League all day.
For me, I don't think the best teams never always win the cup.
Chelsea.
For me, your bread butter is the title.
Well, and Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool won the Champions League when they were fucking piss poor. But I mean, it's just purely by the fact that what will always aggravate me is the fact that we wasn't the first London team to do it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I think personally that we could have probably won it in '92 if it wasn't for the Liverpool fans getting us banned from Europe. I think we had a very good shout. We would have had a good shot in 1990. Probably would have, probably made the last 8. In '92, we would have. I think we could have beat it with that team. But like I say, it's just the one thing we haven't won, and it's always going to be a point of aggravation.
Right then. Now we'll get back to business. So, Danny, let's have all the Arsenal scores from across the board, please. And I've probably caught you off guard.
No, here, ready to go. Bang, on it, like a tramp on a sandwich.
Let's hear it.
21st of February, Charlton Athletic Youth v Arsenal Youth. We beat them 2-0 with goals from Iwobi and Maitland-Niles, so that's a good result. I'm not sure. I think the youth is a combination of the under-18s and under-21s, but I don't know about that. Then the 25th of February, which was only a couple of days ago, Arsenal Youth again, 3, Shakhtar Donetsk 1, with goals from John Terrell, Olsen and Gnabry, which is another really good result. The under-21s haven't really played any league games of late, which is why they are now down to... they were about 4th or 5th all season, and now they're down to 14th, which isn't really that good. The next game for the under-18s is this Saturday away at West Brom, 11 a.m. kickoff. If you go there, tell them we said hello. And the next game for the under-21s is the 10th of March. I can't remember who we're playing then because I didn't write it down. Yeah, the under-18s are having a bit of a good run of form at the moment. They're 10th out of 11, which is because they've had a shit season, but they've now had 2 wins and a draw in the last 3 games, which is something really good, and well done the lads.
Is that the lot?
That is the women aren't playing yet.
Ah, okay.
Next month they'll be taking on Birmingham in the Women's Champions League and be mullering those, and then probably get murdered by Wolfsburg in the next round.
You didn't say your bit about, if you go... Tell them we said hello and they'll give you fuck all.
Oh, I did say tell them we said hello, but the fuck all bit isn't working.
No.
Just tell them that you know us. Or actually, if you do go to the game, go and find Kieran. He's the bloke with the camera. He's usually got about 4 hoodies on. Go and tell him we said hello and kick him in the arse.
Kick him in the bollocks.
No, not in the bollocks, not in the arse. He's a growing man. He needs those for his procreation attempts.
Well, FK's got some, and I'm sure he could borrow one of his.
Oh, and he's got some other things that he's going to learn to find out to use when he gets a bit older. I don't know where I was going with that. Quickly move on.
Okay. Many of you are probably listening to this wondering why the hell a podcast named after Dennis Bergkamp hasn't yet talked about a statue unveiling at the Emirates.
Was that?
Yeah.
Oh, my good God.
But fear not!
Oh.
In this part of the podcast, I want you boys to explain to the listener what Dennis Bergkamp meant to you. So, please, Gav, what did the great man himself mean to you?
Well, he certainly played a lot better without a pole stuck up his arse, which the statue looks like. I think it's a nice statue. It's a very, very nice sentiment, but like I say, I think the actual positioning of him could have been a lot better. Do you know what I mean? I would rather have seen him leaning back, trying to curl one into the far post. But like I say, to go back to the question, the fellow was just an absolute out-and-out genius. When Wenger was asked if he was like the best player in the Premiership's ever seen, or whether he'd make the top 10 of the best players, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, he's probably the best player that I've ever seen for us or against us, and he deserves it. He come to us. He had a tricky first couple of months. The press got on his back, and then off he went, banging. I mean, against Southampton, and never looked back. Really, he was just a complete professional. He had his edges at the time. Do you know what I mean? He knew, and sometimes often put his foot in, if he could, and he wasn't, a squeaky clean player, completely squeaky clean, but for the skill that the fella had, and for the way he sort of transformed the way that Arsenal Football Club played football, a hell of a lot of it goes down to actually the fact that we had a player like him, and he played to us, and he didn't want to play for anybody else after us. Which means a hell of a lot. A lot of players that people are calling legends, and you see a lot of people calling Cesc Fabregas a legend, or Thierry Henry a legend. These players chose to leave us to play elsewhere, and anybody that chooses to leave Arsenal to play elsewhere, I think forfeits any right to be called a legend. Players like Charlie George, Rocastle, Mickey Thomas, I could name loads. Paul Merson, got sold by the club. That's down to the club, not down to them. But like I say, players that choose to leave the club don't deserve the L word. But like I say, Dennis played for us. I was privileged to see his first few games, and very, very privileged to see his last game. And can only hope really that one day we get anybody even close to the skill, the commitment that he showed Arsenal Football Club.
I mean, Danny will take a large amount of the responsibility for him actually flourishing as a football player. Yeah. Danny, would you like to explain the listeners why you're taking that credit?
Well,
again,
it was a sunny afternoon at Highbury. It was when Bergkamp was, I think it must have been about 99, 2000, somewhere at a time like that. And he was coming up to his contract renewal, and he was playing like a twat. And I just shouted at him, "Oi, Bergkamp, sort your fucking life out." He signed the contract, and the rest, as they say, is history. But I agree with a lot that Gav says. I'm one of the few Arsenal fans who saw his very first game, which was a friendly away at Wolves, and David Platt made his debut then. And I saw his very last game, which was his testimonial at Cash Burton. But he epitomises everything that I loved about the club in those early years, and also agreeing with Gav. But my favourite player is Tony Adams. My second favourite player is Dennis Bergkamp. And third favourite player is Ian Wright. Why isn't Henry there, you may well ask, and Vieira? They demanded to leave, and if you demand to leave the club, you are not going to be above the likes of the ones who stayed and finished their career there, or had to go because, like Keogh, his career was virtually over when he left. So I agree with Gav completely on there. And when he first come, he was people were booing him because and giving him shit because he wasn't scoring goals. And his first season, he ended up with 16 goals. And people forget that because if you're a late comer to Arsenal, you may only remember him in the mid noughties where he was getting 2 or 3 goals a season, and a lot of time he's coming on as subs. But much like Alan Smith, when Ian Wright arrived, Alan Smith sacrificed his own goal-scoring career to make goals for Ian Wright, and Bergkamp did the same thing for Thierry Henry. And you just got to remember things like that. Look at his stats. One season for us, 22 goals in 40 games. That just shows how much of a quality player he was. He's one of the greatest players I've ever had the privilege of watching. And wonderful man, and I think I love him.
And some people might not actually know, although I'm sure long-term fans of the club will do. But Dennis Bergkamp wasn't actually signed by Arsene Wenger, was he, FK?
No, he wasn't. He was signed by Bruce Rioch in 1995, and what a player he's been. I mean, you guys have summed him up perfectly. He's just an absolute legend, and he's a guy that came over and literally just took us from one level to another level of football. Just really raised our game, raised our profile as a club, almost kind of transformed us. And on the pitch, he was just brilliant to watch. I mean, it was not about the goals. It's about the way he used to link up the play. You know, he made Henry the player that he was. He helped Ian Wright. And the way he used to just bring our midfielders into play, he's just one step ahead of the game. It's like before the ball even got to his feet, he knew exactly where the ball would be going, and just an incredible player to watch. And I've got so many fond memories of him, and I don't want to bore you guys or take too much time up, but I remember the one time in August '97 when he got his the Goal of the Month competition when he came first, second, and third.
And third, yeah.
I mean, I think it's just a unique feat. It's still not to be done in the Premier League, and that just kind of just shows the class of the guy. And he scored some incredible goals, and I think he averaged almost 1 in 3 for Arsenal, which isn't too bad. And it's just a sensational player. And a story that will always stay with me is I remember working as a programme seller on the day of his testimonial. And after the game, he made time to meet some of the kind of staff, let's say, working on the day. And this is, just meeting him, he just oozed class off the field, on the field. He's just everything you'd always want an Arsenal player to be. In 11 years, 4 FA Cups, 3 league titles, and whatever else that he kind of won. Just a simply sensational player. And, I wish, it's one of my biggest wishes, I wish he comes back to the club at some point in the future to work in some sort of capacity. I couldn't care less what role, if I'm being honest, boys. Whether it's flipping assistant manager, coach, flipping, receptionist, I really don't care. We just need him at the club. I want him at the club. He is just an absolute class act. So for the club to give him a statue, and there's been a lot of talk about, well, why don't we give so-and-so a statue? And there, like you said, Gav, so many legends across the years, but this is a guy who, for me, really transformed our club. We were a big club before he joined, I get that, but, he put us on the map in terms of a great club, and I just think he's just an incredible player.
Well, he might be available. Oh, sorry, Kim.
Oh no, I was going over to John. Just off the back of what FK said there, really. When we signed Ozil last year, many compared his signing to a Bergkamp moment. John, can you tell us why that was?
Well, I mean, you have a person that could be a linchpin in an effective attack. I mean, if you look back at his signing, it was 2.5 million or something of that sort.
7.5, wasn't it? 7.5.
Yeah. 7.5. Okay, 7.5 million back in those days, and he came in, had a tepid start, but after that, he was just the linchpin in everything that we did. I think Ozil can be similar, given the time. Just like you surrounded, Wenger surrounded Bergkamp with a proper firepower to do so. We're going to have to be a little bit patient and see if Wenger surrounds Ozil with the same type of players. So Bergkamp, like FK said, class, just pure class, and the iconic goals, pure class, and it was in the middle of everything that was important, in the late 90s and the early 2000s.
I also think the optimistic among us, Gav, I'll count you out. I
was very optimistic when Bergkamp signed, mate.
Yeah, no, but this is the point I'm about to make. As a club, before Bergkamp signed, we've gone through quite a few years of, kind of fair to middling,
No, we won the Cup Winners' Cup the year before.
Okay, but many people actually said that his signing actually kick-started a whole barrage of great, talented foreign players coming into the club. It was, as signings go, it was a pretty major one of the time. People have compared Ozil to that because it could be the first of many. It could be, so to speak, the glory days back again. I mean, Gav, would you agree with that?
Well, you got to hope so. Do you know what I mean? You got to hope so. But I mean, the thing is, what you got to look at is before Bergkamp signed for us, we had probably was it 5 or 6 years that English teams were banned from Europe. So not a lot of European players were coming over because the money was elsewhere. All the money at the time was in the Italian league and in the Spanish league, and that's why there wasn't a lot of foreign players coming over to play in England.
We had Paul Iverson. How fucking dare you? Norwegian legend. Siggy Jonsson, Icelandic legend.
Yeah, but
Glenn Helder, drug baron legend.
you know what I'm saying, though, Dan. I know you
do. I'm taking the piss.
But like I say, that was sort of like the start of the big names. Because I mean, even though Bergkamp had a torrid time, was it Inter, wasn't it, before he come to us?
Yeah.
He did prove himself to be a very, very good player in Holland.
In the UEFA Cup, he was the only time he was decent for Inter Milan. Other than that, it was a shit season. Absolutely,
shit season. So I mean, like I say, he was one of these players that really come to us on the back of a very, very bad season. So people were really sort of judging him whether or not he was, a world-class player at the time when we bought him. So it was a bit of a risk by David Dean, who really is credited to buying him. But like I say, it was really a transformation in the way we played, because obviously, unfortunately George went, and Bruce Rioch, for some God knows reason, was appointed our manager. But like I say, it was really a transformation when Wenger come in to how we played football, because even though George Graham for the last 2 years played winning football, it wasn't really entertaining football.
You can say that again.
But yeah,
it's effective.
But that's what I said about Linchpin. That he was in the middle of that.
Spot on there, John.
Yeah,
exactly spot on. But like I say, you've got to hope. I mean, look, I don't think you can compare Ozil coming in to Bergkamp coming in. I think Bergkamp was at the time a hell of a lot of a bigger signing, and will prove to be a hell of a lot of a bigger signing than Ozil ever will.
Do you really think?
But
100%.
Yeah, me too.
It wasn't just because Ozil coming in. To be fair, he's just he's taken the place just behind the front player, which Santi Cazorla can play with with great esteem. So, but when Bergkamp came in, we had nobody like him.
Isn't it? We now refer to it as the Bergkamp hole.
But my retort to that is this: you have a club that their major signing was £16 million. You come in with Ozil, and you come in and you triple that. Just on the groundbreaking effect of tripling your record signing, I think that changes the club dynamics. Not everything has to be on the field, and even though Ozil performs as he does and has done in his career, if you look at the numbers, I think it's also psychological, and the effects will carry on from being able to spend that money, a willingness to spend that money, and then willingness to get that type of player in. No, I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it.
No, I mean, I do agree with you. I mean, by the actual club spending that amount of money, it sets a marker out that we are prepared to, and we do have that kind of money to spend. So to a degree, with attracting future players of that kind of financial amount, the Ozil signing, what was and is, a landmark deal. But when you actually come down to the actual Arsenal Football Club, how we play our football, how the style of the game we play, the Bergkamp actually changed, and having him in the side transformed how we actually played football. We went from a team that literally just wanted to get the ball up the front as quickly as possible, to a team that had the skill and the ability to pass it to Bergkamp, to find runners, to turn, to play it on the floor.
Now, well, listen,
he actually linked a team which before then was literally a team full of holding midfielders.
No, absolutely. The transformation from before and after is astonishing.
Yeah, the transformation in the style of the way we play was so much different when Bergkamp arrived, and the change in the style we play since Ozil's arrived has been no different. That's the point I'm making.
No, absolutely. Listen, I agree. But at the same time, don't you think that 7 months in, it's a little early to say what the signing of Ozil is going to do as far as him being the kind of player?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, like I say, most players that have come from sort of Spain tend to take a year to settle in, and Bergkamp took a good 2 or 3 months to settle in. So, like I say, I'm not judging whether Ozil's going to be proven to be a better player than Dennis Bergkamp. What I'm saying is a transformation in the style of the football that we play.
Absolutely, agree, 100%.
Will never be as big as it was from, like I say, you look at the team that, and Danny's probably got the stats up already, the team that won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1994, we literally went out with what would be considered now 4 holding midfielders.
The team was falling on its arse. That was just unbelievable. We managed to do that.
Yeah, I mean, George had a certain amount of play. way of playing, and it was a winning formula at the time. But like I say, throughout 93, 94, it did get to the point where literally we were just hoping for Ian Wright or for Alan Smith to pull one out of the bag and for us to win 1-0.
I mean, just looking at it now, we had Selly, Morrow, Davis, Campbell, Merson, Smith, all playing there, and then he brought on Eddie McGoldrick in the 85th minute, and so that wasn't a team full of creativity. And look at the other team: Faustino Asprilla, Gianfranco Zola, Gabriel Pin, Thomas Brolin, Roberto Sensini.
Oh, Brolin was class, wasn't he? Brolin was class on his
Do you know,
day.
Gav, it's funny you talked about Bergkamp's start, and he took, I think, 8 games to get going against Southampton. But I don't know if many Arsenal fans know this, but actually in pre-season that season, Bergkamp scored an 8-minute hat-trick in a pre-season friendly against Kristianstad. Not a very big team, but obviously, I remember when we signed him and there was so much expectation around the place. I know we'd been a bit of a disaster in Italy, but when you sign someone of that kind of calibre, there was so much excitement, and he made his debut against Middlesbrough, who actually he went on to score most goals against than any other club in his career. But just what a player! Even talking about him now just brings back so many memories. And I wonder, have you guys got like a favourite goal or a favourite moment of him?
Yeah, I like to say. I mean, obviously, the logical thing is to say that the Newcastle was, the favourite goal, and that was probably one of the biggest bits of class he ever did. But I like the one where he took on Elliott at Leicester, where he dinked it over twice, opened up his body and chucked it into the far right corner. And then the one where he went up to the crowd with his hand over his mouth. That's my favourite Bergkamp.
Also, the goals he scored against Sunderland, the way that he just managed to open his body up and just completely hit it at an angle that you thought, he's fucking hit that into Rosette. And just the curl on the ball as you see it go into the top right-hand corner, and you think, how? I mean, in a day when that wasn't really, trademark of football, it was all pretty much direct. Just to see that continental class of a player being able to do such a magnificent thing with the ball and curl it was just, I think we've been spoilt, really, as Arsenal fans, to have Dennis Bergkamp at our club. We've been spoilt.
Can I just back up a little bit thing that the FK said? It was the 26th of July 1995. No, Andy, our history bloke.
Yeah.
He has a website with every single Arsenal game, friendly, full season game, and Bergkamp come on as a sub in that game. Did you know that, FK?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he come on as a sub for, I don't know if it says, and he scored 3 goals. Hartson got 2 goals. Ian Wright scored 1, and they won that game 8-1. Was it Kristianstad, you said?
I think it was.
Yeah, they won that 8-1, and the next game they won 6-1. On their tour of Sweden back when they used to bother going to play there, and they didn't go on tour to sell T-shirts. And I'm just looking at this. Bergkamp played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games without scoring, and then I think the next game was when he scored those 2 goals against I think it was Southampton. Was it Southampton? Yes, it was. I remember that sunny day. I think they were both at the in front of the North Bank. Vaguely remember that.
His second goal was exquisite.
And Bergkamp also scored a hat-trick against St Albans as well in pre-season, beating 5-0.
Obviously, as an Arsenal fan, the Newcastle goal stands out. But while he was playing for us, do you guys remember the Argentina goal in the 98 World Cup?
Yeah, the one that I thought was 94 World Cup. Yeah.
Incredible.
The 98 World Cup was an amazing goal as well.
He actually says that's his favourite goal.
Does he? I think my favourite goal was against Spurs, actually, when we won 3-1 and it was pouring down at Highbury and Ian Wright had the ball on our right hand side. You guys probably remember as I kind of talked through, he was jinking left back and forth, and he whipped in this deep cross, and Bergkamp took one touch and he slid it home, and then he ran celebrating, sliding on his knees with like clenched fists. And honestly, one of my favourite ever moments. And actually, just to finish off my part on Dennis, today when I did the ESPN feature, there was a Dutch family walking by, and just randomly I kind of caught them, and they'd come for the day just to see the statue and see the museum. Oh, nice. And I said to them, so guys, obviously you guys are here, you're visiting Dennis, but is he that much of a pull? And he said, they were like, I'm not going to attempt to do an accent, but they were like, absolutely, this is the reason why we're in England.
Do the accent.
They were like, absolutely, we're here in England just for today, just to come and see the statue and see the museum. And I said, well, when you guys, when you think about the fact that he was a Dutchman playing in England in the red and white of Arsenal, how do you remember him? Like, just describe that feeling of like, when you look back at Dennis, how would you rate him? And they just said, they looked and they contemplated, and they looked at me, and all of them at the same time almost, they just looked at me and they just said proud. And, you know, when you hear Dutch people saying and talking so highly of someone who's gone abroad and you know, applied his trade, and he's become a legend, and they say that they're proud of someone like that. Honestly, I was walking back with a massive smile on my face, just thinking, I'm just so privileged and so, you know, lucky to have seen this guy grace the pitch in front of us. And growing up watching him play was just, I could talk about Dennis all night.
I think we nearly have done.
Yes.
Sorry.
Is there anybody else that wants to maybe add a favourite goal?
One against Newcastle for me.
Yeah, and me. Either that, or actually, my favourite non-Arsenal goal that he scored is for Holland against Argentina. That one where it came over and he took it on the bounce and he literally went round a player and then he hit it with the outside of his foot and it went into the top right-hand corner from that angle. Oh, what a super!
But the first touch was actually almost exactly like the statue.
Yeah. Have we seen a player with such great technique?
No.
Ever?
Yeah, we have. Come on. That's a disservice to... Well, as in at Arsenal, or do you mean in football? At Arsenal, possibly not. Possibly not.
I mean, if you're being unbiased and talking about the best foreign players or that have been about in modern football, and I'm talking sort of like late 80s onwards, you've got to say that if you're going to pick three, you'd probably pick Bergkamp, Zola, and Cantona. And I don't think that there's a lot to choose between all of them, but obviously I'll choose Bergkamp. But like I say, he's up amongst. He's up amongst that calibre of
Don't
player.
let Roberto Baggio hear you say that. Fuck's sake.
Well, he never played over here, did he?
I know.
But do you know what I mean? I mean, if you're talking about foreign imports that played in the English league, I mean, my top three would be them three, and like I say, I'd have Bergkamp a touch above Zola and a touch above Cantona.
I'd have Bergkamp, Seskanabue, I think, clearly. No, I'm kidding. Right, let's move on.
Right, we'll go over to Danny then, who's got some questions.
Certainly have. And also, I know this is a little bit long, people, but people have always said they like a long podcast because Gav wants to make a point about the games that have been moved. But just a couple of questions. That one about the Oxford position, probably not. Man O'Kent, who is at Throwbags, says, should Wenger concentrate 100% on winning the FA Cup over the league, even if it means a fourth place finish? For me, fucking hell no. Premier League's more important. No. Anyone?
I'd rather actually see us win something because it actually breaks the duck. I'd rather... It does. I mean, we've been a long time and supporters pay a lot of money to see a club. At the end of the day, football and football clubs are about winning something. Fourth place is not a trophy.
Really?
If it was, there'd be a big number 4 bus prowling up and down fucking Holloway Road every fucking summer.
Anyone else got any wise words on this?
I think the top 4 is obvious at this point. I think it'll be squeaky bum time until the end of the season, but I think it's obvious that it's going to be the top 4 right now. Top 4 or FA Cup. I mean, I don't think that's even a serious question. FA Cup.
Oh, Gimli?
Yeah, I want to win the Premier League. I just want to be better than everybody in England, and that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's why we just. Why does it even come into it though?
We have Welsh teams in the Premier League.
There's 2 Welsh teams in the Premier League.
Racist bastard.
And do you want to be better than pikeys across the world?
Oh, that was a low blow. Gav's been on his best behaviour. I think we should move on from this.
He actually has. Yeah.
You have actually. We've had a Stoke fan on, and I don't think I've heard you say the word cunt once.
Well, I will do now, you long-toed Welsh fucking cunt.
Lovely.
But Gim, the question was not top 4. It was what, top 4 or FA Cup?
Yeah, should we concentrate on the FA Cup?
Not Premiership trophy. Top 4 or FA Cup?
Arsenal should be competing for both of those, as far as I'm concerned.
We should be competing,
but we are.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not even the question. Should be do you forego
We need to
Champions
score
League
more.
for the FA Cup.
Oh,
this
stop
season.
ripping! Seriously, I can't believe you're ripping apart the question. That was
No, do you know what, Gav? The answer to
question.
the answer to every question should be yes. We should shoot more. Now let's move on. Next question.
Right, this one from someone who manages to sneak a question on every week. He's a jammy bastard at AFC_Fisher. He says, "Who would you play at left back with Gibbs and Monreal both possibly dead out?" Go on, FK. I'll let you start with that one.
Well, I hadn't read that Gibbs was out for too long, and actually his agent yesterday on Twitter said that he could be back for Stoke. So if he's back,
You follow
then
his
obviously it's a
agent?
no-brainer. Yeah.
Jesus.
But if they are both injured, then I mean it's either Vermaelen. If it is, it's either Vermaelen left back, or you push Sanya across the left and
Flamini.
play John's favourite player, Jenkinson, at right back.
Go on then, John. Who do you think?
Of course.
Who do you think, John?
No, Flamini for me.
Yeah.
What, over Vermaelen?
Absolutely.
Really?
You don't want to push him back too soon. He's been out injured for how long?
Okay, that's
2 years.
I thought you meant in terms of like ability. If Vermaelen's fit, then you play Vermaelen left back all day long.
But I mean, you have Flamini that played, left back for us on the 2006 run, so he's used to playing that position. He can play that position. But he can play it. He still has the pace. He still has the positional aptitude to do it. So why not?
I get what you're saying there, because I mean, if you look at how we're likely to line up, if fucking Flamini does end up playing left back, then whoever's playing left side of the top three isn't going to have to do a lot of tracking back, because Flamini's not going to go too far forwards. So I understand the logic in doing that, but obviously this is Arsene Wenger we're talking about. So if what he's going to do is play Sagna on the left and he's going to play Jenkins on the right. Jenkinson on the right.
Oh, fuck me, Jenkinson.
He's all right, leave him alone.
I've got a couple more quick questions. We've got and then Gimli, I think you want to ask one at the end. This one isn't a question because the bloke's a fucking idiot. Guess who sent this question in? Which current Arsenal player would you consider the most likely to dabble with baked treats in their spare time?
Was it Stokes?
Don't you talk, and no, I haven't even told anybody what that is. And the final question, which I think is a really good one, from Dave Gardner, which is at Dave Marlean. Who will be the first of the ABW7 to have a statue of themselves at the Emirates, and why?
It couldn't be you, Danny, because that would be too much bronze.
Fuck off.
That
could
cost
be
a
you.
fucking arm and a leg.
Have you any idea how hard it is to make hairy toes out of bronze? It's almost impossible.
I wonder how difficult it would be to make a statue of you clutching a bag of mini cheddars.
I've not eaten them in weeks. How dare you?
You cheddar monster.
It's gonna have to. It couldn't be John because he's 6'7" and all muscle.
It couldn't be me because I've just got a massive dong.
It can't be Gav because someone has snapped the ponytail off.
Well, if Ozil goes on to have a tremendous career, it could end up being Gim.
It's got to be Jeff Arsenal. It's got to be Jeff Arsenal.
Jeff. Because nobody knows what Jeff looks like, so they could put a fucking statue of anything there, and they say that's Jeff, and we don't know what he looks like.
It's going to be Gimli because he's the only one that actually looks like Ozil.
And he's
4'2". By the time you put him in bronze, add on like extra large feet. You won't be able to tell them apart.
Oh, whatever. Did you say an albino Ozil?
You are an albino Ozil.
You are such a knob.
Gim, if you got a question, and then I'll do this quick thing with Gav with the fixtures, and then
I have, someone sent it to me through DM today. His name is Gregory Peck. If you want to go and follow him at Twitter, he is Greg J. Peck, and he asked, Sanya's contract situation. Do we do whatever it takes to hold on to him, get rid and buy a new right back, or promote Jenkinson? And FK.
Oh, it's such a difficult one. I mean, I would do whatever it takes to keep Sanya, because I think the cost of giving him a contract extension is probably less expensive than going out and splashing out £15 million on a transfer fee plus wages, plus the fact that he's actually one of the best right backs that the Premier League has had over a few years now, and he's doing a decent job and he's versatile. With regards to if he goes, contrary to sort of popular belief, I really think Jenko could make it, but I just don't think he's ready right now. So I think it's important that we keep Sanya. I can't see Arsene Wenger going and spending 15-20 million pounds on someone like Coleman, as much as I would love him. So I think it's important we keep Sanya for 2-3 years. By that time, Jenko will hopefully take the step up. The only issue that I've got with Jenkinson is actually not really his fault. It's just because Sanya's so good, and so and he's regularly fit unless he gets his leg broken. Jenkinson's development has just been stifled by the lack of game time. And I think actually if Jenko had a 6-month regular run of games, whether it was at Arsenal, whether it was at another club in the Premier League, I really think he'd come on. Going forward, he's really good defensively. Yeah, he's got a lot to learn, but there's a lot in him that I like, and I really think he can make it.
He did have a run at the start of last season, though, didn't he? And he was just starting to come into his own.
Yeah, he was. I think he had a run towards the end of last season. I remember that performance away at Bayern. He was brilliant. And correct me if I'm wrong. He's got an England cap as well, right?
So, I believe he was called up to the team. I don't know if he actually played.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I know people like Cleverley get called up week in, week out, but he's got to be doing something right to have even been thought of in that kind of. That kind of level. And I just think he's got a lot about him. He's got a lot to learn. Don't get me wrong. He's by nowhere near the finished article, but, he's got a great engine. He gets up and down the pitch. He's quick. He's tall. He's athletic. He's got a great cross on him. He just needs to master his positioning and defending. It's a big ask, but he's a young boy, and, you just give him the chance, I think. And he's learning from the best. He's learning from, Sanya's one of the best in the industry. What better mentor to have?
He made his debut v Sweden, just in case you're wondering. I didn't just wiki that at all.
Gav, you've got a Facebook question for us, haven't you?
Well, I've got like I say, I put this up on Facebook, and a few people have answered. There's a few questions with regards to the Stoke fan. I know he's obviously gone. Frederick Lundberg asked, "What's the attraction of having sex with one's parents?"
Stay classy, Frederick.
Yeah, Frederick, a different fella. Frederick Danielle, how are Stoke fans going to react after we beat them 5-0 on Saturday?
Oh dear.
My mate Andy Bockin. I went, oh blimey, I've been going games with this fella since 1991. Has the Stoke fella got a sister? I need a new guard dog.
Oh, this is uncalled for. Now the bloke, we can't be mean about him because
I know I'm not being mean. I'm just reading out what's read. Adam Stearman asked the Stoke fan when he's next on Jeremy Cole. Lewis Darling asked the Stoke fan whether he thinks Bentner is to blame for sure Cross's bad challenge, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, fucking Bentner's to blame for everything, isn't he? But yeah, no, serious questions. And if we can do yes or no's, William Baker, as England play next week, will Gibbs get in the World Cup squad regardless of not being selected for the game versus Denmark?
No. I don't think he will, no.
Okay, Christopher Barrell, basically he's asking a question.
Sounds like a laugh. A battle of laughs.
To be honest with you, he's asked. No, he is. He's asked us all. He asked us about a question about Joe Campbell that we answered anyway. A couple of fellas, Elias Tanvik, has asked who we've got hopes for out of the youth development at the moment, as well does a Cal Ollison. So who in the youth?
They're not making it easy on you, are they?
No, not at all with their names. So who do you think out of the current youth squad will make it ours?
Go on, John.
Bellerin and Pozuelo.
I think
that was just a noise.
Someone's good on a frog.
You've obviously got Zelalem, who's clearly going to make it.
And Olsen.
No.
Bellerin looks good, but I think Dan Crowley. A lot of people at the club are saying that he is the bollocks. I mean, he's basically taken that young level of the game and just taken it by the scruff of the neck, and he's just running games single-handedly. So he's got a massive future. Because he's English, I suppose there'll be a lot of pressure on him. But yeah, I mean, you just keep hearing really good stuff from people at the club. So Dan Crowley's probably a big one.
And Gav, just to correspond with you over the whole Stoke thing, when I actually contacted the guy to come on the podcast, I was surprised he actually had a computer. I thought they were still contacting each other via fucking chucking Etch-a-Sketches at each other or fucking writing on a bit of stone with a rock or something. A tablet to them is completely different to what a tablet to you would be.
Exactly. Let's stay classy. We can't slag off Stoke fans too much, can we?
No, not too much.
No, we can. Oh, another fellow asked, Daniel Owen, has the Stoke guy got webbed feet? But seriously, how well...
He hasn't got feet, he's got flippers.
He says, but seriously, how well do you think the squad is for the death run in the next few weeks, which I believe we've covered anyway over a couple of podcasts. And final one, if I can have a yes or no for everybody. Chris Tebb, any truth in the Balotelli Puma sponsored rumour? And if so, would you want him? Dan?
Hell yeah, motherfucker!
FK?
No.
John?
Out.
Absolutely.
Gimli?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Was
And
it
it's
French enough for you? Go on.
And it's a yeah from me as well. And like I say, I do apologise.
How
There's
can
a few...
FK say no?
He's a fucking
Grill him,
idiot.
Gav, grill him.
I'll fucking take him outside afterwards.
He's
But,
just like, I
yeah,
said, grill him,
like I
make
say-
love to him.
Yeah, we never know what
Listen,
you want.
FK still waiting for fucking Cesc to come back.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly.
Don't, I can hear a boner blowing up.
Oh,
He
yeah.
spent most days at Heathrow with a welcome back Fabregas banner.
Every
That's
day
very
he's
true.
there, rain
Very
or
true.
sunshine.
One day you'll come back and I'll get my.
Shut up, you fanboy.
As manager of
Right,
Barcelona.
Anyway, I do apologise to anybody. There's about 2 or 3 people whose questions didn't read out on Facebook, but thank you very much and hope you enjoyed the answers. Gimli?
Right, thank you very much. So we're going to go over to Danny, who I understand you and Gav want to have a little bit of a chat, don't you?
Yeah, well, Gav was talking about it, so as usual, he tells me what to do and I go and get it done. So we've got 4 games coming up in April, and because BT Sports are a bunch of cunts, there you go, I very rarely use that word, but I'm going to use it.
And Sky.
Yeah, well, but ESPN last year, it was £5 or £10 for their package, and you got all the HD packages. BT, it's now £15, and they just rob you and they keep fucking with the games. But the 4 games in April, they've just been announced the new live games they're going to do. So Everton Arsenal Premier League was Saturday the 5th of April. They've moved it to the Sunday. Thank you very much. Arsenal West Ham Premier League. It was on Saturday the 12th. They've now moved it to Sunday the 13th. And what's happening on Sunday the 13th? It's the fucking London Marathon. And how many people are going to turn up for that when you've got 40,000 runners and wheelers and 500,000 spectators? And that is just fucking ridiculous. And then Hull v Arsenal was going to be Saturday the 19th at 3 p.m. They've now moved it to 5:30 p.m. on the same day. And you probably think, well, that's not too bad, until you realise that the last train to leave Hull to get back to London is at 6:30 p.m. And that means
outrageous.
you'd have to get on the train just as the second half is kicking off. Or me and Gav had a bit of a search round. We've gone on the Google, as Steve referred to it. There is another train that leaves Hull at 10:17 p.m, which you think, oh, that's not too bad, but it's a slow one. It doesn't get into King's Cross until 10:07 a.m. How the fuck a train takes 12 hours to get there? I suppose because they haven't even got electricity out there. They've got to push it down to Birmingham before they even get any kind of electricity into it. And then finally, you've got Arsenal v Newcastle. Was Saturday the 26th of April at 3 p.m. It's now been moved to Monday the 28th of April at 8 p.m. And all of our friends in America that are going to have a bit of a shindig at Las Vegas were basing it around a 7 a.m. kickoff in Las Vegas, big Arsenal meeting. And now they can't do that because the game's moved to a Monday. So what was the points you wanted to make about that, Gav? I know some of the bits I've already read out that you've told me to read. That we were
Well, like I say, just purely by the way you've actually fucking explained it, sort of sums it up, really. The worst thing, really, that I've found about it from people actually complaining is Hull away, where a lot of people are actually considering whether they're going to go or not, and Newcastle. The weird thing about the Newcastle game is for silver members, family enclosure members and the young guns, that game actually went on sale yesterday. So people who wanted to, take their kids to the game thinking it's a Saturday have booked the tickets yesterday, and it's now been moved to a Monday at 8 o'clock. Now, if you've got a young kid, 5, 6, 7 or 8, that makes it a little bit difficult for school the next day.
What about Newcastle fans? They're north of England.
Exactly, for Newcastle fans getting down also, that's a fucking pain in the arse. But to be fair on that one, we've had some right shitty fucking kick-off times up at Newcastle. I mean, I've done it once myself where I've gone up to Newcastle and there was actually no physical way of getting home by train after the game.
Monday night.
It's
shocking.
Well, in the end, I mean, you end up booking a hotel and coming home the next day. But like I say, also, a fella that I know, Peter 1947, he booked he's an OAP, he's booked up his ticket, and now it's yesterday, and now it's been moved to a Monday.
And train companies won't refund you or let you change it easily, will they?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's saying he didn't actually book up the train anyway.
In general,
tickets yet, but train companies aren't going to let you change your train ticket just because the fucking football match has changed. They ain't going to let you do it, which is something that really should be sorted out. But I say my main gripe really, like I say, I mean, the whole game is a complete disgrace. But the Newcastle game, I just don't understand what the club should have done is delayed the actual selling of that game until after the football fixture came out.
Well, they don't give a fuck, though, do they? You look at, I mean, not that we're ever going to say poor old Man United fans, but if you're from Manchester and you support Man United for the last 30 years, I don't have a problem with you. But Man United have released a statement saying that if you do not buy the tickets to the second leg of the Champions League, you will be banned. Not you won't be allowed to buy. You will be physically banned from coming to the Manchester derby.
Yeah,
if you don't pay for the return leg of the Olympiacos game.
That's part of the terms and conditions of actually having a season ticket.
It's bullshit,
so, I mean,
though.
It is complete bollocks, but unfortunately that's what they know. Whereas at Arsenal you get X amount of you get 7 cup credits per season ticket. With Man United, I believe that's not the case, but
No.
you are obligated to buy once they go on sale, and if you don't buy once they go on sale, then you get penalised. With Arsenal, you have to pay for 7. If you don't use 7, you get whatever back. If it goes over 7, it gets added onto your season ticket for the next year. So it is much of a muchness, really. But only what Man United do is let you buy it as you go, as opposed to buying it up front. Because at the moment, when you buy an Arsenal season ticket, you're paying up front for 7 cup games.
Mm.
And if anybody wants a bond ticket for next season where you go straight to the head of the queue for the season tickets, let me know, because I know someone who, due to unforeseen circumstances, will have one for sale at the beginning of next season. He doesn't want to sell it, but he's bought it years ago. But FK, as someone who does away games, home games, does them all, what do you think about this situation? How's it? Were you going to go to some and now you're not?
What about the fixture changes?
Yeah, these 4 games in April.
Yeah, completely. I mean, Hull was going to be one that I was going to go to. I've been to Hull before. It's a grim, long drive up, and that's not going to, to finish at 7:30 and then to get back is a bit of an ask. I'm not too fussed about the West Ham and the marathon. All right, I get it, but travelling rush hour in London during the week is a nightmare. I think I'm more upset actually for the Newcastle fans. I mean, you have a fixture, Arsenal Newcastle. The Newcastle boys will be coming down on the Saturday, enjoying the weekend and whatnot in London. It's a great little sort of like escape for them, get away for the weekend, blah blah blah. All of a sudden, it's a Monday night. You've got to take 2 days off work.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 days.
Most of them are unemployed anyway.
No, but come on,
Sorry.
you know what I mean. You've got to take 2 days off work. You're not going to go back to Newcastle until Tuesday morning. It's a long train journey up. I just think it's really harsh. I mean, it's not going to change me personally, but then at the same time, it's really important to remember that ultimately these TV companies give us so much money, and they've helped us buy the players that we have, and they've helped us build the stadium that we've got, and that applies to all the clubs. So we can moan about it, we can, but it's what's made the Premier League what it is.
Yeah, I like I say, I mean, I think really that there should be a certain amount of the actual TV companies and the clubs taking responsibility for this, and obviously, in the ideal world, they should actually make a stand by actually making the tickets for games that are moved slightly cheaper. Because like I say, I mean, I'm sure that unfortunately there's probably a hell of a lot of Newcastle fans that have already pre-ordered or pre-booked their ticket down to Arsenal.
Yeah.
Much the same as as the people that are on the Arsenal away season ticket list. Like I say, that they don't, and it's not their fault that the game's been moved, and obviously income is generated through the TV companies. So a certain amount really should be paid back, especially for away fans, for when they're inconvenienced by the game being moved to a time where it's literally impossible to return from. Because I'm very sure, without actually checking, that if there's not, it's going to be very, very tight for Newcastle fans to get out of the game on a Monday night and actually catch the train home from King's Cross.
And they are renowned for creating a fantastic atmosphere at games, so exactly. It might affect the atmosphere of the game, because everybody likes Newcastle.
Exactly.
The
And
first ticket with our gyro.
I mean, that's
No, pets. Me minge is
Raymond.
dragging on the floor, pets.
Dear Seven and Charlie has got our tits out.
Bite a groove.
Like a
well,
groove.
I mean, to take it back seriously. I mean, part of the actual global.
Look at you.
I know, I'm being serious once. Part of the global appeal of the Premier League is the fact that a lot of away fans do travel to games, and that is part of the fact that the TV companies like to hear a bit of banter, and it's very, very likely that in certain instances the microphones are turned up more in the away section than they are in the home sections. But like I say, if you get to a point where people are going to be priced out and actually, completely, well, literally prevented from going away games due to trains, etc., then really it's going to harm the actual brand. So, like I say, my point really is they should think long and hard when they change the times and dates for games, because, like I say, it's only going to have a detrimental effect, really, I feel. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Carry on.
Right, we shall move on. I like Newcastle anyway. When they come to the Emirates, it always looks like loads of little barcodes running about. We'll move on then, and if I could get some predictions for Stoke away. And Danny, I'll start with you, please.
3-1 and Flamini. I've got a feeling Flamini's going to score. Fuck me, what have I done?
And I've got Steve here, but FK.
I hate Stoke 10-0.
Yeah, guess it.
I'll go for... Fuck it, why not? I'm going to go for 3-0, and I'm going to go Giroud.
Fantastic. John?
I'm going to go 3-0. Chamberlain.
And Gav?
I'm going for 3-1. Fuck it, Ozil.
I'm going for 3-1 as well. But I'm going to say Ramsey. I know he's not going to play, and I know he's not going to score. but fuck it.
Morally, you will score.
If Stoke fans want to take the piss out of a player not playing, you can fucking predict him to score.
Exactly. Just being as delusional as they are.
If there's any Arsenal players listening, we want you to get a T-shirt printed with Aaron Ramsey's face on the T-shirt, and when you score, pull the T-shirt up over your heads and then reveal Ramsey's grinning mug to all them lovely Stoke fans.
Definitely. We'll do some shout-outs next, and Gav, will go over to you first, please.
What for?
Shout-outs.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, no?
No.
Fuck 'em.
No. I would like to thank all of my 13,000 people that follow me on Twitter and all the 14,500 people that follow the She-War on Facebook.
Gav, you got something on your nose, mate?
Shut up and move it on. Don't anger.
Okay, John.
For me, it'll be two Gooner girls that follow us from the U.S. Yvette and Jen, and Yvette's at YLO Texas. Obviously, that's the at before that, and then Jen is at Gooners Girl 008.
And FK.
I got one. This is a guy you probably all follow or interact with. His name's Ricky G, and yes. He's just. I've had a lot of interaction with him recently. He knows what he's done, and he's a really, really good guy. And honestly, he's just one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. And his at is Geezy P, so GEEZY.
I recognise that.
PEAS. Yeah, do you know what, Danny? He's an absolute gentleman, and a really good guy. Knows his stuff, and he's just a fair guy. And it goes back to that whole bullying thing that you guys talked about the last podcast.
Yeah.
A few sly digs were going around Twitter, and he basically just decided to call a cunt and solve everything. So just good a really, really good guy.
Yeah, he's such a really nice guy. He is. Right, Danny, yours, please.
My ones aren't personal ones. They're a bit of interaction with the listeners, so there's 3. I said, make me laugh. So I told him to tweet me at my own personal account. So Tom, who is at AGRON Arsenal, tweeted me, Spurs. And I laughed. The next one is The Iceman Cometh, which is at Lewis D28. He showed me a screen grab of Gav's favourite player, Hijwan, and it said in this screen grab of the Wikipedia page, for the thing, that Hijwan is a French Argentinian potato. Someone had changed it on Wiki to say potato. Oh, and I thought that's laughed. And then finally, the last one was John Connolly, which is JM Pockets. He said, "What's the difference between Olivia Newton-John and Man United?"
Olivia Newton-John didn't get fucked in Greece.
Yay! He's here all week, ladies and worms.
Lovely.
Yes,
stuff.
indeed. So there you go. So if we do try to get a little bit of interaction. It's not just people we know, because I don't know any of you people.
No, I've got 2 shout-outs this week. The first one being someone that sent a nice message to the podcast account saying just how much you love the podcast. So Connor Bowring, who is CBOWRING96, thank you very much. My second shout-out goes to my best friend, and he is on Twitter, at Mark Allen Hyatt. He's got a baby due in 8 weeks' time. He assures me it's going to be a massive gooner. He is a massive gooner himself, so get following. That's Mark with a C, by the way. So those are my shout-outs. All that's left is to wait for the inevitable silence, where I thank you, all you boys, for joining us tonight.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah,
So,
cheers.
that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Nanu, you northern monkeys.
Tell you what, the last 2 hours I've been experimenting how that 6-year-old managed to get a pen up his penis. I'll tell you what, boys, it's not an easy feat. Especially not even with one of those bookies pens, a full-on biro. I got it just to above the nib.
Are you trying to put it in sideways, though?
No.
Oh, good. Could be dangerous.
I decided to put it on my bum instead, which is a much tighter fit.
Mate, getting tested for STDs is bad enough. Can we just not talk about this, please?
Okay.